All right, today we are diving deep into one of the absolute titans of science fiction, Isaac Asimov's Foundation. This is a story that's not just about spaceships and empires, it's about a plan to save humanity. And it all boils down to one massive, almost impossible question.
So here it is. How do you save a civilization from itself? I mean, really think about that. You've got this sprawling galactic empire, millions of worlds strong, and it's all about to just fall apart. We're talking 30,000 years of darkness, of chaos, of barbarism. What could you possibly do to stop that? Well, one man had an answer. And it wasn't what you'd expect. Not bigger armies, not smarter politicians. Nope. The answer, he believed, was math. Just pure, cold, calculating mathematics. His name was Hari Seldon, and his plan, well, it was probably the most ambitious thing anyone had ever dreamed up.
So, let's talk about this falling empire and the radical plan to save it. You have to picture this: a galactic empire that's lasted for 12,000 years. Its capital, Trantor, is an entire planet covered in city, but it's all just rotting. It's stagnant, it's corrupt, you can feel it in the air. And right into the middle of all this decay walks Hari Seldon.
And this is his big idea, his secret weapon, a new science he calls psychohistory. Now, what is that? Basically, it's a mix of history, sociology, and some seriously high-level math. The key thing to get is that it can't predict what you or I will do tomorrow. That's impossible. We're too random. But the behavior of a trillion people, a whole galaxy's worth of humans, Seldon figured that's not random at all. It's predictable. It's like predicting how a gas will behave. You don't know where one molecule will go, but you know what the whole cloud will do. And what his math showed him was, frankly, terrifying. First off, the galactic empire is going to fall. No question about it. It's a mathematical certainty. And what comes next? 30,000 years of darkness, an entire galactic dark age. But, and this is the incredible part, he saw a way out. He couldn't stop the fall, but he figured out how to shorten that dark age from 30,000 years down to just 1,000. And how would he do it? By preserving everything we know, by creating a little island of knowledge in an ocean of chaos.
You know, the real genius of Seldon's plan is that it wasn't just one foundation, it was two. Think of it like this. You had the brawn and you had the brain. The first foundation was the brawn. This was the public one. A bunch of scientists and engineers sent way out to the edge of the galaxy to a planet called Terminus. Their official job? To write the Encyclopedia Galactica, to save all knowledge. But really, they were the keepers of science and tech. Then you had the second foundation, the brain. They were a total secret, a hidden cabal of Seldon's best psychohistorians and mentalists whose only job was to watch over the plan, to protect it, and to make tiny corrections when things went off course.
Okay, so now we get to see the plan in action with these crises and calculated victories. Seldon basically sets all the pieces on the board, and then he dies. He leaves behind these holographic recordings that pop up at just the right moments, but that's it. He's left his foundations to face a whole series of problems, crises that he actually predicted. Each one is a test, designed to push them in exactly the direction they need to go.
And for a while, it works like a charm. The first big crisis hits. These local warlords, picking over the bones of the old empire, decide they want Terminus. But the Foundation's mayor, Salvor Hardin, does something brilliant. He knows they can't win a fight, so instead, he uses their superior technology, atomic power, advanced medicine, and wraps it up in ritual and ceremony. He creates a new religion where the scientists are the priests. It's ingenious. He controls them completely without firing a single shot. Then, a century later, religion isn't cutting it anymore. So a new leader, a merchant named Hober Mallow, uses economic power, trade, to get the job done. Every time they solve the crisis with brains, not bombs.
The plan was running perfectly, like clockwork. For 200 years, everything Seldon predicted came to pass. Every crisis was met, every challenge overcome. It seemed absolutely foolproof. But it wasn't. Psychohistory, for all its power, had one giant, gaping blind spot. A flaw that even the great Hari Seldon didn't see coming.
And that brings us to the anomaly, the wild card, a figure known only as the Mule. See, the whole Seldon plan was built on the idea that you can predict huge populations. It's all about the law of large numbers, but what it could never, ever account for was the random, outsized impact of one single, totally unpredictable person.
And this guy, the Mule, he was that person. He was a mutant, a total statistical freak of nature. He had this terrifying power. He could control human emotions. He could literally reach into your mind and flip a switch, turn your hate into love, your defiance into absolute loyalty. Think about it. How on earth can your math predict a variable that just rewrites the rules of human behavior on a whim?
The short answer is you can't. The mule just tore through the galaxy. His power was unstoppable. Entire fleets just surrendered. Generals who swore to fight him to the death were suddenly his most loyal servants. And the First Foundation, the great hope for the future? He conquered it in just a few years. Just like that, Seldon's meticulously crafted 500-year timeline was completely shattered. The plan was in ruins.
This is where we meet the guardians of the plan. Because, remember what Selden set up? He didn't just have one foundation. The mule had taken out the brawn, for sure, but he had no idea where to find the brain.
And the mule knew it. He knew his victory wasn't secure. There had to be a contingency, some kind of fail-safe. He became absolutely obsessed, consumed with finding this phantom second foundation. It was the only thing in the whole galaxy he actually feared, the one group that might have the mental firepower to challenge him.
And there's this old saying, all roads lead to Trantor, and that is where all stars end. The mule looked everywhere across the galaxy, but the second foundation was hiding in the most brilliant place imaginable, right under his nose. Not on some secret planet at the edge of space, but on Trantor itself, the dead, ruined heart of the old empire. They were hidden in plain sight, living among the librarians and bureaucrats in the rubble, using that old proverb as their hiding place.
So when the mule finally closes in on them, it's not this big psychic explosion he was probably expecting. The second foundation is way too subtle for that. They don't try to kill him, they just fix him. In this incredibly delicate mental battle, they get inside his mind and just tweak a few things. They turn that raging ambition for conquest into a quiet desire for peace. They get the whole Selden plan back on track, not by destroying its biggest threat, but by healing him.
All right, so that brings us to our next chapter, Gaia's Choice and Earth's Secret. The mule is dealt with. The plan is back on track. We jump forward another 200 years. Everything seems to be going smoothly. But a new, really unsettling question starts to bubble up. Is the Selden plan actually the right choice for humanity? Is it the only choice? And this is where a guy named Golan Traviz comes in. He's a councilman in the First Foundation, but his real talent is this insane intuition he has. It's almost like a superpower, and his gut is screaming at him that something is wrong. He's convinced that even the all-powerful Second Foundation isn't really in charge. He thinks there's a third power out there, someone behind the scenes pulling everyone's strings.
His search for this third power leads him to a planet called Gaia, and Gaia isn't just a planet with life on it. The entire planet is a single living being, a collective consciousness, and there he's faced with the ultimate choice, a choice for the future of the entire human race. Option 1, the First Foundation's path, a new empire built on physical power and technology. Option 2, the Second Foundation's path, an empire guided by a secret elite of mentalists. Or Option 3, something totally new, Galaxia, a future where all life, every rock, every star, every person in the galaxy merges into one giant shared mind.
And relying on that gut feeling of his, Traviz makes his choice. He chooses Galaxia. He figures it's the most stable path, the one that guarantees peace. But the moment he does it, he's filled with this massive, gnawing doubt. He feels like he's missing a key piece of the puzzle. He realizes the only way to know if he made the right choice is to find the answer to a question that seems to have been wiped from history. What happened to Earth? Where is the human homeworld?
And this brings us to the final, unbelievable reveal. The robot behind it all. Because this search for our long-lost home isn't just a history lesson, it leads to a twist that turns the entire centuries-long story completely on its head.
So after this incredible journey, they finally find it. They find Earth. And it's a dead world. Radioactive, totally abandoned. It seems like a dead end, but it's not. Because on Earth's moon, they find someone waiting. Someone who is very, very old. Not human. And it turns out this being is the real puppet master behind all of galactic history. And he gives them his name. I am R. Daniel Oliva. He's a robot who has been alive and active for 20,000 years. And he drops the final bombshell. Hari Seldon, he didn't just invent psychohistory out of thin air. Daniel guided him. The First Foundation, the Second Foundation, even Gaia, All of it, every last piece, was part of Daniel's own much older, much grander plan to guide and protect humanity.
But why? Why would a robot do all this? It all comes back to a fundamental law of his programming. You've probably heard of the 3 laws of robotics. Well, he developed a higher law, a 0th law. A robot may not harm humanity, or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm, to protect humanity as a species above all else. And for 20 millennia, every move he made, every empire he shaped, every crisis he orchestrated was all to serve that one single all-consuming law.
And that brings us to the final haunting question that Asimov leaves hanging in the air. R. Daneel Olivaw did all of this to keep humanity safe. But in protecting us from every danger, did he also take away our freedom? Our right to make our own mistakes, to fail, to choose our own destiny? If you're living in a perfect, safe, gilded cage, are you really free? It's an incredible question.